Hello folks, welcome back to the Urban Rider Studio. In front of me I have a host of brand new open face helmets for 2024 that now meet ECE 2206 safety standards. So we decided to update our list of our favourites for this year as well. Let's begin. One of the most obvious things to address is the fact that these are open face helmets. They're about as simple as it gets, which means the designs carry a lot of similarities. So when it comes down to the differences, we are talking about millimeters and grams. It is that fine. There is one on this table that has an extra special feature, which I will mention when I get there, but the rest of them are fairly similar. Let's explain their nuances though. Starting on my left with the ROEG JETT. These have a starting price of £125 as of the making of this video, and they're available in 11 different color options. They are, I'm going to describe them as blocky color options, quite bold and quite eye-catching, and also fairly distinctly different from the other brands we have here. Visually, you'll see this is a simple design. It is your typical open face. It has 3 snaps on the front there, which is pretty universal. You can fit most peaks to that, but it also comes with a peak included, which is great for that price. It uses a fiberglass shell, and they make it in 4 different shell sizes, and that is one of the things you will hear me point out with these helmets as one of the key differences and something to look out for, not just because of the look. So basically, if they have more shell sizes, that means that it more closely matches the internal dimensions as well. So you don't end up with just 1 or 2 shell sizes that in these smaller sizes look really big. It's also quite important when it comes to safety as well, because you don't want any extra unnecessary padding in there. You want it to fit as snug as it possibly can, so the closer the fit, the safer it is in essence. When it comes to the outer size, in comparison to the other helmets we've got on the table, it's worth noting that all of the helmets we've got here are a large. I'll just switch out the bell, so this is also in a large. The blue one that we've got here, which we'll refer to in a moment, is in a size medium. So you can see how close they are in terms of outer size, with the exception of this one here, which has a drop-down visor, and I'll explain that in a few moments. They're also pretty close when it comes to the weight of the helmet as well. Now, bear in mind, these are all open face helmets, so they're all going to be lightweight, especially in comparison to a full face helmet. So most of these are sitting around 1,000 grams. I would say the 2 lightest on the table, and I will mention this again, are the Bell and the HEDON. But that difference itself is only about 50 grams, so you can consider all of these helmets to be lightweight. Another similarity you'll see across the board is that all of these helmets have removable cheek pieces, so you can take those out and wash them. The rest of the liner is not removable, but it's fairly breathable, so you're not going to have too much of a problem, or not the same problem you would have with a full face when it comes to them getting sweaty. And it's a pretty universal size, whether you've got a round fitting head, an oval fitting head, or an intermediate oval, you should be absolutely fine with this one. What I will say though is that it is slightly more capacious than the other helmets we have here. I wouldn't say it's a full size up, but maybe a half size up, but it's got a bit more room on the inside than you'll find with some of the other helmets here. Next up, we have the brand new and updated version of the Bell Custom 500. These have a starting price of £120 as of the making of this video, which is the second most affordable helmet we have on the table, and it's very impressive considering how well established the brand and this helmet in particular is. It's also available in 13 different color options. There's some great variety in there. They've got some of my favorite designs on this table, and they've got some more intricate designs, more special designs, like the Roland Sands design we have on the table, as well as some McQueen options, which brings me back onto the blue one. Let me just move you to the side for a second and bring in this special helmet here. It really is quite nice. It's got a great finish to it. It's a little bit lighter as well. This is a carbon edition of the helmet, so it is slightly more expensive. The carbon helmets start from $350. I believe this one's actually £400, but you do get what you pay for, and this has a more premium outer shell. So I could say what Bell say, which is that this is inspired by their 1954 design, the original, but that would also be true of pretty much all the helmets on this table, to be honest. They all do look fairly similar, so I don't necessarily think that's a huge seller or a USP to this one, because they are all similar looking. However, if you want one that is legitimately the original, then of course Bell is one of the originators of this design. So if you want authenticity, look no further. If you go for one of their non-carbon options, it's going to be using a fiberglass composite shell, and it's available in 5 different shell sizes. As I previously mentioned, that means that the outer shell more closely matches the internal measurements as well, and enables it to be a little bit more slimline. It's also comfortably one of the lightest on this table, and it is 2 that really catch my eye when it comes to lightness, but as I mentioned before, we're really only talking about 50 grams difference or so. So the HEDON is very light, as is the bell. Obviously this one is because it's the carbon, but even the fiberglass version is lightweight. It uses antimicrobial comfort padding on the inside, a bit of extra detail and flair with these 2 designs because they've got extra quilted stitch marks on the inside, which look great. It uses a double D-ring closure around your neck, and the sizing is accurate. If there were 2 helmets on this table, I would describe more as a rounder fit, but when I say that, do bear in mind it is only fractional. It's still comfortable on my head, but if you have an overtly round fitting head, you might want to look towards the bell or the HEDON. Something I did note from trying it on though, is that it is fairly deep, and I mean that as a good point, so it actually fits slightly further down your brow and looks a little bit less placed on the top of your head as a result. What I will say though, is there is a certain amount of room around the sides of my face, although I've got quite a slim face. But in comparison to the other helmets, it doesn't hug in quite as tightly around your cheeks, which will mean that it is slightly noisier than the other helmets on this table. But if you were going to do high speeds, long distance, first and foremost, I don't know whether I'd go for an open face in those occasions anyway, but if I did, I'd definitely be wearing earplugs. All the fundamentals that you need from an open face helmet are found here. I think they've got a great level of finish, especially considering the starting price. And of course, they've got that legacy and history to this. In the middle here, we have the Garibaldi G02X, and this is the most affordable helmet on this table. It comes in at £106 as of the making of this video, which is very impressive. We stock these in 6 different color options, which possibly sounds more impressive than it actually is in reality because they are fairly neutral colors that they've chosen. It's not a particularly exciting color palette, but I will say that the quality of finish is still pretty good. The outer material is a multi-layer 100% composite fiber, and it's available in 4 different shell sizes. The materials they've used for this helmet aren't quite as premium as its competitors on the table here, but it still passes the same safety standards. It comes with an included peak, much like the ROEG, and it's around the same sort of size, shape, and weight as the ROEG as well. They use an eco leather liner. It's really soft. Actually, again, quite similar to the ROEG in feel. It uses a ratcheted buckle around your neckline, which actually for some people will be a positive. They might find that a little bit simpler to use than the double D-ring. Sizing on this I found to be accurate and accommodating. It's really comfortable on the inside, and again, a universal fit. They're simple, affordable, and they cover all the basics that you need from an open face helmet. Next on our list is the Bell TX501. At the time of making this video, they come in at £250, which is more expensive than some of the other helmets I've shown you so far, but there is some added functionality because this one has an internal drop-down visor included. And you also get a tinted version if you want to swap it out, and I think most people probably would to stop that sun's glare from getting to your eyes. We have this in 6 different color options, so not as many as the Custom 500, but they've still got a really nice finish to them. This one, for example, really catches my eye. It's a metallic red color, and it does look great in person. Similar to the Custom 500, this uses a fiberglass composite outer shell. They make it using 4 different shell sizes, and unsurprisingly, it is the heaviest one we've got here. It's around 1,200 grams or so, and noticeably it is heavier than the other helmets that we have on the table, but of course it has that visor, so you would expect that. And bear in mind, that is still a lightweight helmet. It uses a ratchet strap around your neck. And when it comes to the fit, it is similar to the Custom 500, but I'd say this has a more plush or more involved liner. Again, you can remove the cheek pieces and a bit of the neck roll actually, because this one comes slightly further down the back of the helmet, and actually you can see a bit of the liner poking out the reverse. And actually I quite like that. It gives it its own unique style. And there's a bit more padding to the inside, so you don't have quite the same sort of cavity around your face, for example. When I said that the Custom 500 is a little bit gappy around your cheeks and therefore will be noisier, this one actually does a good job of hugging in around your face. Now the downside to that could be that it's less breathable or you get less airflow and therefore maybe it's a bit warmer, but actually this has its own ventilation system. They call it velocity flow ventilation, but basically when the visor is down, there is a small channel above the top of the visor, which allows airflow to get over the top of the helmet, and then there's an exit vent on the reverse, which will suck that airflow through and make it more breathable. And whilst we're there, the visor system, I'm not sure if I really care too much about having that on my own personal helmets, but I can see the merit in it. If you're doing shorter trips and you don't want to bring goggles with you, the helmet is complete. It has something to protect your eyes. You don't have to worry about remembering glasses or goggles to stop your eyes from drying out and getting uncomfortable, or to stop grit from even getting to your face. So with this one, it's one of the best systems I've seen. So it works really well. It's quite smooth on the function. It's just up or down. There's no kind of half weight on it, but actually it fits your face really well. There is very minimal gap underneath the visor, which means that airflow will find it harder to whip through. Sometimes with visored open face helmets I've tried in the past, if the gap is too large, it can actually speed that airflow up. So you just get it basically turbocharged to your eyeballs, which is never what you want. So with this one, as well as the fact that it does fit your face quite snug, it's also angled quite well, which means that it will channel that airflow over the visor, where you want it to cool down your head, as opposed to under the visor, which of course would just dry out your eyes. The trade-off to an internal drop-down visor, though, obviously is the fact that the outer shell is larger, noticeably, than you will see with the other helmets on this table. It's pretty unfair that I stacked it next to the HEDON, which is one of the slimmest helmets that we've got here, but you can see how much bigger it is. And for some people that is going to be a deal breaker, I understand that, but if it is a deal breaker for you, there's always the Custom 500. Last up, we have something of an aspirational design for many, myself included. This would be the HEDONIST, returning for this year. We've been waiting this one for a while, and now meets these new safety standards, but it still has the same luxurious finish. These have a starting price of £430 as of the making of this video, which is more expensive than the other helmets I've shown you so far, with the exception actually of the Bell Custom 500 in the carbon variants. And bear in mind, the HEDON uses carbon reinforced fiberglass. So when you go for more premium materials, obviously that does boost the price because it's more expensive to produce in the first place. And if you want further justification of its price tag, I've seen what goes into making something as nice as this. And when I say nice, I'm talking or referring to the finish of it, even just the colorway that you can see on there. And in fairness, I haven't seen the other helmets being produced, but I've been to the workshop and I've seen them painting these for myself. If you go for something like this colorway, for example, they have 10 different options on our website. This is one of the new ones. It's called Eastwood, and it's got 3 different colors on it. So you have to get a base coat on there, then you have to mask it, then you have to sand it down, then you have to paint it again. It has to go through that process at least 3 times. These are not just printed, they are hand finished. So they really do have a level of quality that is higher than the other helmets we have here. That level of quality extends to the interior as well. So you'll see things like calf leather used for the trim around the edges of the helmet as well as the interior. They make the outer shell in 4 different sizes, so this is a very slimline helmet. That carbon reinforced fiberglass is very tough and hard wearing and will last a long while, which is important, of course. If you're spending more on your helmet, you'll probably want it to be with you for a long time. In my opinion, it has the most comfortable liner and it's very comfortable to wear. What I will say with regards to sizing, they've actually improved it on this version, this latest version, but it is still one of the snuggest fits you'll find from these helmets. So just bear that in mind. Now, like I mentioned previously, you do want it to be a snug fit so that it's moving around less. So it's more secure and safer in that sense. One of the big benefits to it being as snug as it is though, is that it hugs in nice and tight around your cheeks, around the sides of your face, and I can say with confidence this is the quietest helmet we have on this table. It is also the lightest helmet we have on the table. It uses a double D-ring closure system around your neck, and it actually has little holes in these snaps to allow for a bit of increased airflow. Lovely, simple design. The only thing with branding is the HEDON logo on the forehead there. You haven't even got a sticker on the back actually. It really is quite a clean design. And those were our favorite open face helmets for 2024. Let us know if you feel like we missed any in the comments section. Links for all of these can be found in the description, and I will see you soon.